So, a document just dropped that is completely rewriting America's military playbook for the first time in a generation. We're talking about the 2026 National Defense Strategy. And look, this isn't just some minor update. It's a monumental and frankly, deeply controversial break from everything that's come before, signaling a whole new era in U.S. foreign policy.
Okay, let's just dive right into the deep end here. On the left, you've got the language from the last strategy, words like integrated deterrence, multilateralism, collective security. It's all about teamwork, working together. But then you look at the 2026 strategy on the right, strength through realism, America first, conditional partnerships. The change in philosophy is just, bam, right there in your face. This isn't a minor tweak, it's a complete teardown of the old way of thinking.
So why the huge historic break? Well, the core logic is actually a pretty blunt admission. The United States just can't be the world's policeman anymore. The resources, the political will, it's just not there. This new strategy basically argues that America has to start making some really hard choices to avoid stretching itself too thin. And it all comes down to this one key concept they call the simultaneity problem. The strategist is brutally honest about it. It says the U.S. simply can't afford to fight and win a major war in Europe and another one in Asia at the same time. And this isn't just about troop numbers. It's about the insane cost of modern military technology and an industrial base that just can't crank out what's needed for two massive conflicts. This one problem is the justification for every radical change that follows. It forces a ruthless, almost cold-blooded prioritization.
So, this new prioritization is built on four brand new pillars, or what the document calls lines of effort. First and most important, defend the homeland. Second, deter China through strength. Third, and this is a big one, make allies carry their own weight. And fourth, a massive push to rebuild America's own defense industrial base. This last one is really the foundation for all the others, as we're going to see. All right, so let's break these down one by one.
So let's start with that first and most fundamental pillar. For the first time, defending the American homeland isn't just a priority, it is the absolute number one organizing principle for the entire U.S. military. Everything else is secondary. People are already calling this the return of Fortress America.
And this idea extends beyond just the borders. The strategy actually dusts off the old 19th century Monroe Doctrine, but with what some analysts are calling the Trump corollary. Basically, you take the original idea, keeping foreign powers out of the Americas, and you supercharge it with an America-first focus on securing its own neighborhood before worrying about anyone else's. We've already seen this in action with Operation Absolute Resolve down in Venezuela, which was a clear shot across the bow to China and Russia. Stay out of our backyard.
And the centerpiece of this Fortress America, well, it's absolutely monumental. The crown jewel is this incredibly ambitious plan for a nearly impenetrable missile defense shield, nicknamed the Golden Dome. We're talking a potential price tag of up to $500 billion. It's not just a defensive system. It's a core part of that fourth pillar we mentioned. A project so massive, it's designed to single-handedly revitalize the entire domestic aerospace and defense industry.
Now you're probably wondering why that staggering cost. Well, this quote right here from a CSIS analysis gives us the cold, hard strategic logic. The goal is to make it impossible for an opponent to use nuclear blackmail. If America is safe and sound at home, the thinking goes, then it can act decisively anywhere else in the world, especially against China, without having to worry about a devastating counterattack on its own soil.
Okay. So this new Fortress America posture has huge implications for the second pillar, which completely redefines how the U.S. plans to deal with China. The old approach of confronting China everywhere is out. The new approach is all about making specific acts of aggression just impossible.
It's a doctrine called deterrence by refusal. The goal isn't to defeat China in some giant all-out war. It's to make a regional invasion so costly and so difficult that Beijing just decides it isn't worth trying. This means fortifying the islands in the Pacific with these new, super-mobile marine units called littoral regiments. Think of them as small, agile teams armed with long-range anti-ship missiles hopping from island to island to deny a big Navy access to the sea. And get this, the unclassified version of the report never once uses the word Taiwan. That is very, very deliberate.
And this table right here illustrates the new battlefield perfectly. It's a flat-out, high-tech arms race. The U.S. is betting big on things like its next-gen F-47 fighter, which is supposed to be a mothership for over 1,000 drone wingmen. That's meant to counter China's own advanced jets and its massive naval buildup. This is a full-blown Cold War-style tech competition, and the strategy is clear. Winning it depends entirely on rebuilding that American industrial base to out-innovate and outproduce everyone else.
All right, now for pillar number 3, and this is by far the most controversial piece of the whole puzzle. The strategy doesn't mince words. It declares an end to the era of America being the world's unlimited security provider. The message to allies is simple and blunt. You are on your own.
And here's the price tag for that new reality. The old NATO goal of spending 2% of your GDP on defense, gone. It's been replaced by a mandatory 5% target. And this isn't a friendly suggestion, it's a demand. And you can bet it's causing some major heartburn within the alliance.
So this all funnels into what they're calling the first responder principle. The strategy explicitly says that from now on, Europe is expected to handle the conventional threat from Russia by itself. South Korea is expected to take the lead against North Korea. The U.S. will only step in for the most extreme situations, for true great power conflict.
So all of this just begs the question, right? What are the global consequences when America pulls back into its fortress? Does this intense focus on homeland security actually make the rest of the world a more dangerous place?
Well, the strategy itself predicts that we won't see fewer conflicts, just different kinds. So you can think less about massive tank battles and more about constant simmering friction in these new arenas. Relentless cyber attacks, the formal weaponization of space, economic warfare fought through supply chains, and little proxy wars popping up in the power vacuums left behind. So the potential fallout here is immense. We could be looking at a world with a fractured, two-tiered alliance system of the haves and the have-nots. Outer space could officially become a battlefield thanks to programs like the Golden Dome. And yeah, there's a much higher risk of regional wars kicking off as smaller countries feel like America just isn't watching anymore.
Which leaves us with the ultimate question this entire strategy poses. Is this a smart, realistic plan for securing peace for America by leveraging its incredible strength? Or is it a dangerous abdication of responsibility that's just going to create a more fractured, more chaotic, and ultimately a more dangerous world for absolutely everyone?